When you think about a bet at work, you're probably thinking, what, a free lunch?
Yeah.
Maybe a bottle of wine?
Something low stakes, yeah.
Exactly. But we're starting this deep dive with a bet inside xAI that was on a whole different level.
Ah, the Cybertruck bet.
The Cybertruck bet.
Yeah.
So Elon Musk goes to this engineer, Tyler, and says, get a massive GPU training run going in 24 hours, and I'll give you a Cybertruck.
Which you have to understand is just an absurd timeline. That kind of thing usually takes weeks.
Weeks of red tape, configuration, testing, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy, Tyler, he didn't sleep. He was running models that same night, and yep, the next day drove to work in his new truck.
And that story is, I think, the perfect way to frame what we're digging into today.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at an interview with an xAI engineer, Sulaiman Ghori, to really understand how this company moves at what they call breakneck speed.
Okay, let's unpack that, because it's not just about coding fast. We're talking about huge physical projects.
Yep.
The big one is the Colossus data center. They went from basically a patch of dirt to the world's most powerful AI cluster in 122 days.
Which is unheard of.
Yeah.
You'd normally spend 122 days just waiting for the city to stamp your permits.
So how do they do it? This is where it gets really clever. They didn't just, wait in line. Ghori says they found this loophole.
A loophole.
To get on the land immediately, they used a temporary permit, one that's normally used for carnivals.
Carnivals. You're kidding me?
Nope. Literally. A traveling circus.
Wow. So they treated a billion-dollar AI project like it was a temporary fair just to get shovels in the ground.
Well, the permanent paperwork was catching up, whatever works, right?
Yeah.
But, okay, a building is one thing, powering it is another. A cluster that size would just fry a local grid.
It would if you treat it like a normal building. But they didn't. They treated the whole data center like one giant machine. They brought in these huge Tesla Megapack batteries.
So the batteries act as a buffer.
Exactly. If the grid gets shaky, boom,
Right.
They switch to battery power in milliseconds. They just refuse to let the utility company's timeline be a hard limit.
So they're building these carnival supercomputers. But Ghori also talks about what they're for. There's this internal project they call Macro Hard.
Right, their digital Optimus idea. So think of it not just as a chatbot, but as a full-on human emulator.
It learns to use a computer like a person.
Oh.
Mouse, keyboard, everything.
Exactly. To automate all the boring stuff, data entry, customer support, navigating horrible enterprise software.
But then you hit a scaling problem. If you want millions of these digital workers, you need millions of GPUs. You can't just keep building data centers forever.
And that's the big question they had to solve. Where do you find millions of powerful computers that are just sitting around doing nothing?
And the answer was already parked in everybody's driveways.
The Tesla fleet. This was the aha moment for me in the interview.
Me too.
There are, about 4 million Teslas just in North America, and they're parked something like 80% of the time. The newer ones are running hardware 4.
Which is a surprisingly powerful AI computer on its own.
It's a supercomputer on wheels, really. So the plan Ghori outlined is to basically lease that compute from the car owners.
So while your car is parked overnight, it's plugged into Wi-Fi, and it's running jobs for xAI's Macro Hard project.
You turn your customer base into a distributed cloud network. You don't pay for the building, the land, the cooling. The car owner already did.
That completely changes the economics.
Huh.
But to pull all this off, you need a very specific kind of person, a certain engineering culture.
Yeah, Ghori called it the no one tells me no culture.
Which sounds intense.
It's blunt. If you see a problem, a blocker, you fix it. You don't ask for permission. And that thinking goes all the way down to how they hire.
He has a specific test, right?
Yeah, Sully, that's Ghori. He gives candidates a computer vision problem that he actually solved years ago. But he's not looking for the most complex solution.
He's looking for the opposite.
Exactly. He said he rejects people who let an AI assistant write 200 lines of code for it. He wants the person who finds the simple, elegant, 10-line solution.
Because more code is just more places for bugs to hide.
Precisely. You can't move at breakneck speed if you're dragging around bloated code. Speed demands simplicity.
So if you put it all together, it seems like xAI's whole strategy is to just reject any limitation that isn't, a fundamental law of physics.
That's the core of it. They see a difference between artificial barriers like permits or supply chains and real ones. Everything artificial is negotiable.
It definitely makes you look at a parked car a little differently.
It should. And I think that leaves us with a really provocative final thought for you to chew on. If they pull this off, if they turn the entire global fleet of Teslas into a distributed workforce, how does that change the whole idea of owning a car?
Right. Could we get to a point where your car is earning a salary that's actually bigger than its monthly payment?
It sounds like science fiction, but based on the speed and thinking we've talked about today, it might be closer than any of us think.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening.